Combustion.
Whoa, 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 whoa. They running the game with my team making plays. Talking 80, my G's, one and jewels in this place. Surrounded by dogs, keep the quarterback safe. I'm the one with the plans, they gon' do what I say. The game is not over, we don't celebrate in the end zone. We don't got no time in the wait. H-Town run down, we don't premeditate. We just go and get to it, we got them on skates. If the game going to overtime, kicking the overdrive, we gon' be first at the finish line. Play looking full, but I finish mine. Can I get second? We gon' line up like it's dinner time. We put in work till we get this serene. Super Bowl season, we running the scene. H-Town the home of the realest that breathe. Keep your face down when you talk to the king.
Yo, what up, y'all? This is your boy AD from the H-Town Rundown with another episode coming in hot. And yes, cool Jags, we are live. We alive, fam. We alive, man. My co-hosts, Jules and Clayton, they ain't swarming, dog. Training camp is here. And ain't nothing else more important than the Houston Texans right now. But unfortunately for Clayton, Spider-Man is more important than the Houston Texans. And unfortunately for Jules, cheerleading competition with the baby is more important than the Houston Texans. They not swarming. I'm swarming. Again, it's another episode of the H-Town Rundown. Shout out Frank Z in the building. Shout out LD. What up, brothers? How y'all doing? How's everybody doing on this wonderful, wonderful Thursday night? Get y'all in and get y'all out. Houston Texans started training camp on Wednesday. They reported on Tuesday, and you had the whole CJ outrage, about the little video of him walking in depressed or whatever they want to say was. But, they reported on Tuesday, and you had those little videos. You already know, Alfredo. You already know, man. Shout out Frank. But, yeah, definitely, they reported on Tuesday, and they're here. On Wednesday was the first live practice, and then they backdoored, and they had practice another day of practice today again. Hey, listen, Bear say he's swarming a little bit. Nah, we swarming all the way. If you hear, you swarming. If you hear, you swarming. Shout out to the H-Town Rundown fans and people that are tuned in for the H-Town Rundown. But definitely, we're here to talk about the Houston Texans training camp these past few days. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of smoke about a lot that's been going on. We'll start with day one on yesterday, man. CJ Stroud caught a lot of flack. He still caught some today as well. But the interception he threw to Kamari Lassiter garnered a lot of talk, just unnecessarily. I don't know why y'all hyping all this, hyping it up again as practice. It is what it is. But again, those are the things that were talked about. Well, the main thing that was talked about that all people could talk about, and it almost feels like people were just waiting for a mistake from CJ Stroud to just jump on the bandwagon of let's just all pile on CJ. Let's just talk about CJ. We already talked about the way his demeanor and the way he walks and the way he was walking into training camp unenthused and saying he's not a leader and, all these little narratives they want to paint about CJ. And they first mistake in training camp, unfortunately, it was the first day of training camp. Then you have all this stuff about CJ Stroud, hyping it up even more. But he backdoored that with a positive day. Who wears shorts and a t-shirt in the summer? Everybody, man, especially in Texas. If you're in Texas, if you out here in long pants or long jeans, you're what they call a psycho. Definitely, man. But the Houston Texans again, CJ followed it up with a great day. So I'm gonna consider a great day today. In training camp today, where he was precise and especially on quick games, short routes, a lot of slants, a lot of in-breaking routes, which was his specialty. A lot of dump offs, according to reports, that when it wasn't there, he was quick to dump it off. And you kind of like that from CJ. There was another CJ debate about between Jeremy Branham and you know shout out Jonathan Alexander about a hospital ball being thrown from CJ Stroud, um, which was crazy to me. So, matter of fact, let me pull it on up and we can talk about it. And I want to get y'all thoughts about it. Let me find it. Give me a second. See what happens when you gotta go solo, man. Boys ain't here to help you or nothing. Um, but yeah, man, it's Jeremy Branham. I think it was a post, and there we go. There we go. So I'll play the video here. Houston Texans. Let me share the screen. See if y'all can see it. There we go. Blow that baby up. Jeremy Branham. Shout out Jeremy Branham. Saying that this play was a hospital ball. When they say they used to Sengun and Harden and Thompson showing up with purses and babies. Anything is a hospital ball if Look, man, like I said, this was the hot topic of the day. This little pass. Mind you, this is a red zone team drill. And again, this is an in-breaking slant where Nico Collins is trying to score a touchdown. This is a typical play. And we've seen the Texans run this type of play like all, the past few years, especially last season, they ran a lot of this with Nico Collins. These in-breaking routes with Nico Collins, who he specializes in. I don't understand the fascination with trying to make this a quote-unquote hospital ball because Henry is coming across the middle. We've seen Nico Collins, and I pointed out last year against the Kansas City Chiefs on a similar play, and it wasn't even in the red zone. This is just a similar play where the linebacker came just like Henry's coming across the middle to hit Nico Collins, and guess what Nico does? Exactly what he simulates here, bounces right off of him and keeps running. This is Nico Collins, a 6'4", 225-pound wide receiver going across the middle. Again, we're talking about semantics, and again, it's almost like you're trying to paint CJ in a bad light or find a reason, to say that CJ Stroud is not, being accurate with the football or he threw it behind him. This is not a behind pass. If anything, this is a perfectly placed pass because the way Henry's screaming across the middle, does he make a play? You know what I mean? So, again, I don't like the debate going back and forth and trying to find something negative about training camp, and it's the second day of training camp. Again, Brandon, shout out Brandon. He said probably getting the plays they're comfortable with out of the way early, ramp it up and experiment later on. You know what I mean? Exactly. I don't see a problem with this. Again, let's take the positive. Shout out Barry, man. Y'all go ahead and like, share, and comment and join in. It's me and y'all tonight. It's me and y'all. So y'all go ahead and I'm right here with y'all. So we're gonna talk about it. But again, let's take the positive. How Nico gets the inside breaking route on Stingley. Can we get a positive on that? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how CJ perfectly placed the ball in between two defenders where only his receiver can make the play. Let's talk about that. Let's be positive about the situation on the second day of training camp. Let's move on from all this, craziness that we're talking about with CJ Stroud and the negativity. We got to move away from the negativity with CJ Stroud, man. He's our quarterback and gonna be our quarterback for a very long time, man. So y'all just kind of need to get over it. I know a lot of people still got that sour New England Patriots game taste in their mouth. Let's move past it, and let's talk about the positives with CJ Stroud, man. But going forward, we can move on from that. But again, it was some positives today. Especially we'll go back on day one after the commentary. After practice, you had D'Amico, CJ, and Will Anderson talk in the press conference after. CJ Stroud, kind of had his discussions, and of course he got the contract comment. I think everybody got the contract comment about CJ Stroud, which is at this point is annoying, even for me. I'm sure as hell it's annoying for CJ Stroud. Um, but it is definitely um a question that everybody has to talk about. But I think at some point we got to get over it because I think it yesterday was asked to Nick Casario at 8:30 in the morning. Then it was asked to D'Amico Ryans after first practice yesterday. Then it was asked to CJ Stroud. And then they kind of slid it in with Will Anderson, kind of vaguely as well. But CJ Stroud, at the end of the day, we know CJ Stroud's gonna get paid by the Houston Texans. We doing all this extra, you know. I ain't for it. I'm ashamed you. I'm gonna talk about you. I'm ashamed you. But let's stay positive. The running backs, I think D'Amico talked about it. I think back-to-back days, even with David Montgomery was on today. Exactly, LD. That's my quarterback, man. That's my quarterback. But the running game was talked about, and D'Amico Ryans has 2 days in a row has talked about how the running game is looking brighter. The picture is looking brighter in the running back room. He mentions David Montgomery a lot. He likes the way that David Montgomery's consistency has shown, and he's the same person that he's always been every day in and out as well. And D'Amico also spoke about Woody Marks and had high praises for Woody Marks and how Woody Marks has shown, a lot more burst. Even in the little clips we've seen on Twitter, you can see the burst from Woody Marks and how he's he's slimmed down as well as David Montgomery slimmed down. He said that you heard the rookie and Aziz had a little scuffle. You talking about I forgot to point that out. I forgot to mention Keelan Rutledge and Aziz Al-Shaair. No, but I'll get back on the running backs real quick, and I'll talk about that because I want to talk about the offensive line as well. But definitely, I'm expecting big things out of Woody Marks specifically, as well as David Montgomery. David Montgomery, I feel like is going to be the guy that's going to hold the ship together. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to get you those yards when you those need to have yards. He's also going to, be able to be, like D'Amico said, he's going to be consistent, which is something that we haven't had. And D'Amico frankly said it. The running game is, I'm quoting, not quoting, but I'm paraphrasing his words. The running game was trash. The running game was trash since he's been here. And you can say it was trash even when you had Joe Mixon, who was making something out of nothing. And I've said it on the spaces before. I feel like David Montgomery is going to be one of those guys that makes something happen. And D'Amico said it. He's always runs for positive yards. You hardly ever see David Montgomery get tackled in the backfield, and you hardly ever see David Montgomery run for negative yards. Having a running back that's going to stay consistent to get either a zero gain or positive yards on every time he touches the football is going to be very, very positive for the football team and very, very helpful for CJ Stroud and his offense in general. And then you have guys like Woody Marks, who has that burst now. You're going to see him in the backfield catching passes. You're going to see him exploding and having explosive plays. I think you're going to see a lot more of Woody Marks in that mode of being an explosive player, which is going to in turn help the offense as well. So, especially like today when they had a lot of checkdowns. Guess where the checkdown is going to go to? David Montgomery and Woody Marks. So I appreciate, the D'Amico Ryans, shining the light and bringing more, excitement for eyes to the running back room as well. Speaking about running backs, the Houston Texans did bring in 2 running backs for workouts. If I'm sure is Madison. What's his name? Madison. I forgot his first name is but they brought in Madison and what's the other guy's name? Let me pull Aaron. Shout out to Aaron Aaron Burnfield. Let's see, Aaron Wilson. Texans brought in. Oh man, come on. Yeah, they worked out. Come on. Jesus Christ, Aaron Wilson. Um, Somebody in the chat help me out, y'all. Shakedowns not going to Gumbo. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. It's not going to Gumbo Wale, man. Thank the Lord. It's not going to Gumbo Wale. And who was it? I know it was Madison was one of them, and I'm trying to think of the other one. Hayden Haskins, yeah. Haskins and Madison were the two running backs that they brought in for visits today for workouts. So shout out to Haskins as well as Madison. I need to get these guys' names right, man. Hassan Haskins. There we go. Hassan Haskins. I think it's Madison. Alexander Madison. There we go. So two running backs for the Houston Texans. So they brought in today. So shout out to Aaron Wilson and others who reported that. But going back to Aldi's comment about the offensive line, yeah, there was a little issue, with the offensive line. Not issue, but shout out Keelan Rutledge. Was reported by John Hickman as well that they had a shout out one. They had a little run in where Rutledge was blocking Aziz down the field for like 20 yards and pancaked him. And you can see the nastiness of Rutledge showing. There you go. Appreciate it. Alex Madison and Hassan Haskins. Yeah, Larry Payton just swarming a little bit. But definitely. I think I'm gonna show this little clip, man, of Popovich coaching the line, and I think that is going to you're gonna see the why this you should be excited for a guy like Rutledge, who is already a nasty guy coming in and having already the first day of camp having those type of plays with a veteran in Aziz Al-Shire and Aziz appreciating the offensive lineman and Keelan Rutledge. So 51 got manhandled. 51? Aziz is 51? I ain't hear nothing about Aziz Will Anderson getting manhandled at all. What up, Yvonne? But yeah, let me go ahead and play this video from Will. Shout out Will Kunkel for pulling out the video, man. Hit the play button. Let me go.
Coaching looks like? Take a look at this video of Texans offensive line coach Cole Popovich coaching up his group in camp. And as you could probably imagine, the more riled up he gets, the better it gets towards the end.
Don't run into me. Right. Game, a lot better. That was the shits again. No, you did fine. That was much better. Gotta get done in that spot. Now go. There, right. How fucking hard is that? Act like my dumbass is standing right there by you every fucking time.
I love that video just because it's simply an insight for so many fans to see what goes in to coaching at this level, and Cole Popovich taking a little extra time to make sure his guy gets it right before they break and go to the next thing. Make sure y'all double tap and give me a follow here, y'all. Peace.
Shout out Will Kunkel, man, for providing that video of Cole Popovich. Yeah, exactly, brother. Yeah, Z's got manhandled. Yeah, for sure. Larry Payton. Yeah, Big Red. Shout out Brandon. But definitely, man, like that type of attitude it gets you hype. It gets you hype. You're right. Yeah, always swarming. Shout out Jalen Petro. We swarming or not? Rutledge got a target on him now from the defense. So, and fuck it. Like it is what it is. Pretend I'm Tank Dell, don't run me during your practice rep. That's funny. But definitely, like, you want that type of attitude and you want that mentality from your offensive line. And that is something that I said a year ago when Cole Popovich, like you saw the attitude that he brought to the table as a coach in just his interviews and just the little side videos and little video clips you saw of Cole Popovich. You saw him and how aggressive and in your face and on your ass he was as a coach, and you appreciated, and you saw that the pivot from a Laramie Tunsil and now a pivot from a Titus Howard. No, both excellent tackles and excellent players. But again, I said it last offseason when they brought in a Laken Tomlinson and they brought in a Ed Ingram and they brought in a Trent Brown and they brought in a Cam Brown. They brought in guys with certain mentalities that are nasty, in your face, spit in the dirt, and put your face in it type of players. And just that clip alone shows you how in your face and spit in the ground, nasty type of players that Cole Popovich wants. And, Keelan Rutledge exemplified that again in the first day of practice. So I feel like that is just another instance of happiness I'm getting when it comes to the offensive line and positivity I'm getting when it comes to the offensive line. And it's starting to take away some of the nervousness, because at the end of the day, I know whatever it is, I know that my offensive line is being coached right. It's being coached up. When he say no reason we need to see Andrews at center live with the snap in it. Yeah, exactly. Get Andrews up out of here. Get him on up out of there. And let's go ahead and let's see what Rutledge has to offer. That type of mentality, I think, will win if they're in a position battle. Doggone Keelan Rutledge doing that wins you the job 10 times out of 10. Andrews may be technically a little better here. He may know the plays more because he's been in the system longer. He's adjusted. He's played center longer. All these things, he has the advantage. But that one little thing of being a nasty, shout out to EXO, a dirty rotten bastard. If he's one of those guys that's gonna drive your man and just go give you that extra effort at the end of the play, he's gonna win the battle 9 times out of 10. And the player, nobody's talking about it, but the player that he was specifically coaching up in that clip talking about Coach Popovich was Weewoo, our other rookie. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to him making sure that those guys do what they need to do to be ready and prepared for the season upcoming, because of course I feel like Weewoo is going to be a key reserve for the Houston Texans, and I think Rutledge is going to be our starting center. I think it's kind of a put on the show and I feel like they're giving Andrews his last hope and last little wishing well of hope for Andrews as well, man. So we can go ahead and discuss that. But then again, there's going to be a battle with Trent Brown and Braden Smith as well. So that's something else to watch. And again, we got tickets, man. We got tickets to give away. If y'all have not secured any training camp tickets, please reach out to me at the H-Town Rundown. Y'all see the ad right there at the H-Town Rundown, at the HTRD on Twitter. Y'all go ahead and reach out to me, DM me, and trust me, I will make sure that you got some tickets. Shout out Sherrod reached out, and he got him some tickets for 2 days. He got it for Monday and Friday. Y'all make sure y'all hit me up because I still got 2 more tickets for Monday and Friday and the 18th. I have 6 tickets for the 18th. The joint practice. one of the biggest practices. So y'all make sure that y'all hit me up. And I'll see. And I may have an extra ticket for Saturday. This upcoming Saturday, I may have one extra ticket. So y'all hit me up. First come, first serve. Y'all make sure y'all hit me up at the H-Town Rundown, HTRD on Twitter. And we can go from there. But y'all make sure, yeah, Brandon, the 18th. Yeah, the 18th of August is the joint practice, if I'm not mistaken, with the Raiders. Not the Raiders, the Chargers. The joint practice with the Chargers. So y'all make sure that y'all go ahead and reach out to me, and I'll make sure y'all can get those tickets, man. Y'all make sure. Just hit me up. But Larry Payton said he wanted to talk about, is it the Raiders? I thought the Raiders preseason game was the 13th. So how are we having a joint practice against the, I'm not sure. Shout out Mike G, man. He said Rutledge is a dog and such a great physical tone setter. Yeah, appreciate you, Mike. Y'all go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, man. Shout out him. Shout out Barrett as well. Larry Payton said, please discuss our proposal to acquire one of the Arizona Cardinal running backs. He's talking about Tyler Algier, Trey Benson, and James Conner. Oh, shit, my bad. I guess it is the Raiders. Shit, my bad. Blame it on my mind, not my heart, man. But yeah, we can talk about that. I've been saying I'm a huge James Conner fan, and I think he's going to be a guy that is definitely going to be available. The Texans, like I spoke earlier, the Texans already worked out 2 running backs and Alexander Madison as well as Hassan Haskin. So those are guys. Yeah. Okay, so it'll be the Raiders for the joint practice. So y'all go ahead and get those tickets on the 18th. But they brought in Hassan Haskin and Alexander Madison as running backs. And I've been saying this for the longest. The Houston Texans' third running back, or running back 3, or reserve, or whatever you want to call it, your reserve running back, I feel personally is not currently on the roster. I feel like this running back is going to come from an outside source via a trade, via a free agent pickup after a release during training camp. I feel personally that guys, especially in that running back room of the Cardinals, where they have a Tyler Algier, who they just signed from their Atlanta Falcons, a James Conner, who was their backup running back last year, a Trey Benson, who's a young up-and-coming running back, as well as they just drafted Jordan Love. So they have 4 running backs in their running back room. One of them is going to go. And my personal pick is James Conner. Others I highly doubt that Tyler Algier will be a camp cut from the Atlanta Falcons. From the Arizona Cardinals. He played with the Atlanta Falcons, with the Arizona Cardinals. I just don't feel like them spending that money on Tyler Algier and then releasing him is something that they would do. I think really honestly, one of the backs that will go is probably either Trey Benson or James Conner. And the reason why I feel like it would be James Conner out of those two, I feel like it would be James Conner because, again, what does reserve running backs have to do? Play special teams, right? James Conner, I don't think is, at this age and this tenure in the NFL, I don't think he's a predominantly special teams type of player. Whereas a Trey Benson, you can kind of get away with him being on special teams and him being a guy that can kind of play that role as he continues to develop, and be your reserve running back. And a Benson and Love running back room would look damn good. And then here Mr. G Money said Madison started for a period. Of course. But again, Madison kind of fell off. He was supposed to have that upward trajectory and be the next Vikings running back. When they got rid of freaking what's his name? It's blowing me. But the starting running back, I think it's the one that played for, 2 of them played for, one of them played for us. They got rid of 2 running backs, but what's his name? He played for the Bills. His brother played for the Bills. Jesus Christ, I'm having a moment today, boy. But yeah, when they got rid of their starting run, no, Cam Akers was one of them, but Dalvin Cook, there you go. When they got rid of Cook, Madison was supposed to be the next guy up. And Madison performed well in his moments, but Madison as well kind of teetered off. And it kind of was like, yeah, is he, the guy? And that's why he's in that limbo situation that he's in now as a free agent. So, would I like Madison as a third kind of guy? Yeah. I think that honestly, freaking he would be a perfect guy. And Benson, Benson got some juice, like you said, G Money. He definitely has some juice, and I definitely would like to bring him in. I just don't think the Cardinals will make that move of cutting Benson over Connor, being that Benson is the younger player and probably cheaper player. Appreciate it, Mike. Yes, Cook. So I would say that James, and I'm gonna stick to this James Conner pick. If James Conner is released, I'm gonna be up here begging for the Texans to sign James Conner, man. I definitely think James Conner is a different type of back. He's a bigger. First of all, he will come in as your biggest back. I think James Conner is right at 6 foot, and about 220, something like that. James Conner is 6'1". Oh shit, I was off. He's 6'1", 233. So again, James Conner is he'll be your biggest back. Hey, boy, Casey and JoJo and Devontae, boy, all of them, boy. And Dalvin. But definitely, I feel like James Conner would be that type of guy that can come in and kind of spell Montgomery in moments and give you the power, and he's elusive as well. So he'll give you that extra when it comes to the running back room, and I feel like he's a different style of back than even though he's similar to Montgomery, but his size and the way he plays is different. So him being a different guy, and you still got the speed from Woody and juice from Woody, and you still got Montgomery. He's one of those break glass type of moments as well that you can sit back and you can hand the pill off to him and be comfortable splitting carries with him and Montgomery, or splitting carries with him and Woody as a break glass kind of situation if one of those guys get hurt. At this point, I feel like certain roster positions have been cursed. And I feel like the Texans have to get quality players in those rooms to support. You don't want injuries at all to happen, but the running back room, the tight end room, the safety room, I feel has been, even the wide receiver room has been some of the most cursed position groups for the Houston Texans. And unfortunately, 3 of those position groups are on your offense. Your wide receivers, your running backs, and your tight ends have been hurt. We ended the season last year with one decent running back in Woody Marks. We had half a tight end in the New England Patriots game, in the playoff game. We ended the season with half a tight end. And then you ended the season with two legitimate wide receivers who were also rookies because Nico Collins was hurt again. So, and Christian Kirk always, hurt. He's hurt right now for the 49ers. So again, these position groups, I feel like the Texans should really stack heavy. The Texans did sign DJ Turner as an extra camp body wide receiver while we wait on Tank and while Jalen Noel is nursing a thumb injury, who'll probably be out for the next couple of weeks. Maybe should make an appearance at the first or second preseason game. I say the second preseason game, we will see the Jalen Noel sighting. And probably that's when we'll see the Tank Dell sighting as well. After the joint practices and all that stuff like that. We'll see that first game action. But, speaking of broke down position groups, let's go to the tight end room. And, just a lot of the talk with the tight ends, man, is just it's crazy because I feel like the tight end room gets a lot of hate for certain players, man. Really, all the players. I will say this. I feel like every single tight end in our tight end room, the notables. I'm not talking about the bottom of the roster guys. I'm not talking about guys you probably not ever gonna see again. I'm talking about the 4 or 5. Is it 5? Let's see. You got Schultz, you got Brevin Jordan, you got Marlon Klein, as well as you got K Stover. These 4 guys, I feel like will be on the roster going forward, but it's been so much hate between each one of those guys. It's been baffling to me that the lack of positivity with the tight ends is just like, why? You know what I mean? And so I'll go ahead and play the clip from the day that, caused some discussion in the group chat. And we'll go from here. You had Schultz coming out of his, little, and these are just drills. Schultz, you got Brevin Jordan, you got K Stover, and then you got Marlon Klein. Marlon Klein, aggressive in this drill. What up? So again, the tight end room, I feel like each one has garnered their level of hatred for whatever reason amongst the group of fans and the fan base. We'll start with Schultz. Schultz has been maligned most of his tenure as a Texan because of his laissez-faire blocking and everything like that. But Dalton Schultz, I said it, the last 2 years, he's your most consistent player on offense. Has been the most consistent player on offense. Dalton Schultz, you always know what you're going to get, whether good or bad. You always know what you're going to get from Dalton Schultz, right? But there's fans who want a certain type of player at tight end, and they feel like Dalton Schultz just isn't that. Dalton Schultz has made his mistakes and had his, his fuck ups here and there. Dalton Schultz has got a lot of hate and disgust from a lot of Texan fans, and then you got the Brevin Jordan of it all. Brevin Jordan, his hate comes from him not being available, like him not being on the field. And I think it's been a lot of arguments between Texan fans regarding Brevin Jordan because you have your Brevin Jordan loyalists who will ride or die for Brevin Jordan, and then you got people who are like, okay, it's been how many years since we've seen Brevin Jordan on the field? Let's move on from Brevin Jordan. Hell, I'm a semi Brevin Jordan hater. Klein is 83. LD Klein is 83. He's the last one. So Brevin Jordan has had his hate even from me. I'm joining in the party as Brevin Jordan hater because I feel like I don't want to put so much hope into a player that can't get on the field and stay on the field. Brevin Jordan has been hurt every year of his career. Brevin Jordan is still on this team 5-6 years later. Again, Brevin Jordan is a talented player. I just feel like, me personally, what can we do? And then K Stover of it all. K Stover had a less than stellar year last year, and now people in his second year, he's going into his third year. Now people are saying, you know what? Bye, Cade. You weren't able to take over Dalton's position. Now it's time for you to let's move on from Cade. Cade hasn't delivered, and that goes back to the Dalton Schultz hate. Cade hasn't delivered, and he hasn't taken over the starting tight end position from Schultz, so he's not good. Let's move on from K Stover. Now they're moving him to fullback, so he can't be good. All of that, and now you got Marlon Klein coming into the fact because let's say it, the Burnt Orange fans upset that we didn't get Anthony Hill. And now you got Klein, you drafted Klein, who is an huge athletic, 6'6", 240-pound mountain of a man tight end, and you see how he's moving in this drill. How can you not be excited about Marlon Klein? But yet you get the Beltway boys of the Twitter still hating on Marlon Klein. Still upset about Marlon Klein because he wasn't a guy that you knew about before the draft, pre-draft. Yeah, shout out, Sal, man. Appreciate you, bro. Now he said, yeah, Klein looks huge. Klein is legit 6'6", 240+ pounds, man. This is a guy that is going to be deadly in the red zone, somebody that you would want. Brandon said Marlon Klein looking like Tucker Craft 2.0. People don't realize how good Tucker Craft is. Nobody talks about Tucker Craft for the Green Bay Packers, but Tucker Craft was hellified tight end, man. And if Marlon Klein can be anywhere near Tucker Craft, we are winning. We are winning, and he's going to be considered the steal of the draft. But I'm definitely high on Marlon Klein. I'm positive about all these guys. I feel like they all can produce given the opportunity. I just think with K Stover, Brevin Jordan, you got to be on the field. You got to be on the field. The injuries have hurt Brevin Jordan and K Stover tremendously when it comes to playing, being on the field, being active, making plays, being available. Dalton Schultz is entering the tail end of his career, should you say, even though he just had a career year with the Houston Texans last year, leading in yards and receptions. I think his highest of his career in yards and receptions. And yeah, we talking tight ends. Let's talk about them again. But you know, Klein was also slightly faster in the 40 than Kraft. Brother, you ain't gotta sell me no more, man. Killer Calvin. But it's just like let's not downplay or make something out of nothing. Again, it's the second day of practice in training camp, and I'm trying to weed out the negativity of training camp. Like I talked about the negativity of CJ Stroud and people picking and probing and prodding CJ Stroud for any little miscue or mistake, and they're going to heighten it to where it doesn't need to be. And so I feel like that is something that needs to be kind of weeded out, because shout out Killer Cal, he was in a group chat and he was talking about it and critiquing each rep and each player and everything like that, talking about Dalton Schultz was lazy on his drill. Dalton wasn't lazy. In all honesty, you can say he was smooth. Just because he's not fighting for the ball, fighting back to the ball like Marlon Klein, that, this is just the one rep. What happened to the other reps? So like, I don't want to be negative about Dalton Schultz, who I just said is our most consistent offensive player for the Houston Texans for his tenure here for the last 3 years. Dalton Schultz is giving you 600 plus yards, 3 or 4 touchdowns every year, 50 plus catches every single year. He's giving you production, and it's been consistent production. Calvary likes Michigan Wolverines. Again, shout out Killer Cal taking my point on the spaces today that I've been saying for the longest. If anybody's been watching the H-Town Rundown, I've spoken about the Klein pick, and me and Jules have had back and forth about his discuss of Marlon Klein, because again, he goes back to the production at Michigan, and then I stated to him, hey, Michigan was a running team. Michigan was a run-first team. Last year, they had a first-year head coach with a true freshman quarterback, and this was Marlon Klein's opportunity to finally start and play, right? In a run-first scheme type of team. And you're not going to get a lot of production. And I went and I pulled back the archives I was talking about, even with Colston Loveland, who's a top 10 pick in the previous year's draft, got from Michigan Wolverines. You go and look at his stats, he's not putting up crazy numbers. And he played with a better quarterback. He played with a first-round quarterback, right? He didn't put up crazy numbers. He put up the touchdown numbers, but he didn't put up the yards. He didn't put up – Tyler Warren had 1,000 yards as a tight end at freaking college at Penn State. Colston wasn't doing that in Michigan. So those type of things, like I feel like, Dorsey said, AD, all those who are down on starting QB, please advise them to stay on that side of the fence. Hey, brother, you ain't said nothing but a word. Stay on your side. Stay on that side. Like, just all the CJ hate got to go, man. like he's here. He's going to be here, and CJ gonna produce, and CJ gonna take us to the promised land. CJ's the guy. I mean, it is what it is. Stay on what did he say? Stay on this side, bro. But another position, I got two more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the wide receivers because Jaden Higgins had an excellent day, according to Jonathan Alexander, and his observations today that Jaden Higgins stood out, especially in team drills. He had two, I think the first two passes were to Jaden Higgins, and he made excellent plays on both of them. So shout out Jaden Higgins stepping up in this role. Lewis Bond got a highlight shout out as well. Shout out Lewis Bond, whose opportunity is there. No Tank Dell right now. No Jalen Noel right now. Lewis Bond, and shout out to Barrett and the Lewis Bond fan club. Lewis Bond definitely is a guy that has a prime opportunity to carve and make the plays that he needs to make for this team and to really, put his stamp on this roster and make this 53. Again, I said wide receiver was another position group that was hindered by injuries. Right now, again, we were out without Tank Dell all of last year. When it came down to the playoffs, guess what happened? Nico Collins got injured. Again, Christian Kirk was in and out of the lineup last year. And then Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins were rookies. Now you're coming into another year where you got Jalen Noel, who's already injured, who's not here the first couple weeks of camp, right? Then Tank Dell is being held out. D'Amico Ryans got sick of y'all asking about Tank Dell. But again, they're holding Tank Dell out whenever he's supposed to be there, right? Whenever he gets there, right? But Tank Dell is going to be a part. He's just not there right now. So you see the effects of it, and I'm upset. I know Bears upset. It kind of, a lot of Texan fans are upset because Deebo Samuel was a guy that a lot of Texan fans talked about, who just went back to the 49ers, who have their own injury issues with freaking what's his name? Christian Kirk is out with an injury over there. You got the Brandon Ayuk of it all. The other receiver, the number one receiver, that Ricky Pearsall is hurt as well. So all of these guys, they're dealing with their own injuries, just like the Texans, similar to the Texans. And Texan fans wanted their reinsurance guy of a Deebo Samuel, and there's still guys that you could potentially get. Again, guys that we can see coming off of rosters as cut candidates that the Texans bring in. Again, the Texans brought in DJ Turner as a spot guy as well. So we'll see, but Lewis has a prime opportunity to really move up the ranks and really solidify himself on the Texans roster. And shout out to Jaden Higgins for coming in hot, as well with these first few games. Yeah. Oh yeah, I ain't forget about Hutch. Hutch is there. Hutch is the silent assassin. I feel like Hutch is he's one of those guys that's gonna always be there, man. Xavier Hutchinson, but I feel like there's a ceiling to Xavier Hutchinson. But he's one of those kind of reliable guys, and he's a guy that should always be hanging around the roster. Unfortunately, like Knee Killer is always hanging around the roster. Everybody know who's Knee Killer. Xavier Hutchinson should always be around this roster or be a part of this roster, just as that kind of stabilizing, consistent work, lunch pail guy. I didn't have to say the name. You knew the name, Rich Boy. You knew the name. Knee Killer. Everybody knows who Knee Killer is. You say the name, everybody know who he is. Unfortunately, he's always healthy. Ain't that about a bitch? He's always healthy. So, and then Brandon said, if they hadn't been leaning into Nico so hard when he wasn't working, he wouldn't have gotten injured. I mean, Nico Collins has some of the, it's two things with Nico Collins. Either you're going to get a hamstring or you're going to get a concussion. Nico Collins works very, very hard. I don't know. He gets a hamstring injury every year. So I don't know what else you can do. It may be genetics at this point. So just try to keep Nico Collins to limit Nico Collins as much as possible. I would say protect Nico Collins more than you're protecting Tank Dell, to be honest with you. I would take Let me ask this question. Would you take 12 games of Tank Dell and 13 games of Nico Collins as a combination? Or would you take 17 games of Nico Collins and 8 games of healthy Tank Dell? What combination would you rather have? The 12 and 13, 12 Tank and 13 Nico, of like fully healthy, no limitations, no anything. I'm sorry, 13 Tank and 12 Nico, or would you take the 17 Nico, 8 Tank? You know, are you going to be at any open camps? Yeah, I'll be there Saturday, brother. I'll be there Saturday. If you see Ruben, Harley, Stressings, I'll be there. I'll be around. We all be in the group, man. Content creators, we all link up, man, when it comes to that, man. Every day with a Y. 17 of Nico and 8 of Tank. He said, hell yes, Tank and Nico 12 and 13, because 13 games of Tank is 1,400 yards easy. 1,400 yards of Tank? Like 1,400 yards of who? Tank getting 1,400 yards with Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel and Nico Collins? I don't know. He said, I'll take a fully healthy wide receiver core in the playoffs. That's the thing, brother. That's what we all praying for. A healthy wide receiver core in the playoffs. That's all. That's what we all praying for. Rich Boy J, he said, I'll take 5 Nico games if it means he actually available in the playoffs. You know what? That's the biggest thing, is that we really need everybody healthy for the playoffs. You know, so I'm all for I would assume if Nico Collins is healthy 17 games, he's going to be healthy throughout the playoffs. Who would you rather have? A healthy Nico in the playoffs or a healthy Tank in the playoffs? That's another one. And that doesn't have to be an either or, but, you know, because at the end of the day, we all want both of them to be healthy. Can we clear the air on Nico playoffs? Oh, I mean, yeah. I'm just saying he's missing games in general. Him missing games throughout the season and him not being fully healthy in general. I know, but he was not healthy the last playoff game, unfortunately. So, and again, I'm no shade to Nico when it comes to the playoffs, because again, the conversation I was having was just a regular season conversation. Now the Larry Paytons and the Jays of the world, they brought into the playoff. They brought into the playoffs of it all. But I was just speaking in general about Nico Collins and Tank Dell when it comes to the regular season. Because I feel like if that happens, if they're both healthy majority of the games in the regular season, CJ Stroud bounces back. Offense takes an uptick. Now the Texans are on that 17-0 trend. Instead of the 12 and 10 to 12 game trend, we're on the 17 game trend, right? And that's all what we all positive and what we all want to see is see those guys healthy and see CJ take the next step and do what he needs to do and be that top 10 quarterback to show his worth and get paid. It's coming. It's coming, people. It's coming. But the last thing I want to talk about is the safety room. There's a discussion in the group chat right now, and they're talking about the depth of the safety room and the secondary in general. And we've had these conversations off and on the H-Town Rundown where we've talked about did something happen that I missed? Chat, y'all let me know. Did I miss something? Okay, I was talking about Clowney. Yeah, Clowney would be something that'll be, definitely want to hit up. But When it comes to the secondary, there's a discussion talking about the depth of the secondary. And I think that's going to be very, very important because you got the Jalen Reeds of the world, you got the Elijah Huzzies of the world who got a pick six today against Davis Mills in practice today. Shout out to Davis Mills and his Warriors. I mean, linebacker depth. Yeah, I didn't mention it earlier, but Jake Hansen unfortunately was carted off the field today with a foot injury. No timetable on his return, but the Texans did draft two linebackers, and then they brought in Mapu. You still got Jamal Hill, and you still have the other linebacker. I forgot his name from the Ravens. That's the special teams guy. You still got Aziz, and you still got freaking Henry To'oTo'o. So we'll see how that plays out. But you have a lot of young guys with opportunities in the linebacker room to move forward. But I feel like the safety room is more important in the fact that we were decimated again for the third year in a row in Hummel. There you go, Hummel. That they have been decimated in the safety room the last 3 years. Every year that D'Amico's been here, the safety room has been a turnstile. I think the first year you had the turnstile of MJ Stewart and Eric Murray getting hurt, and then Jimmy Ward got hurt. And then you were out there with running nobodies and praying to God that Petrie stayed healthy, as your lone safety, right? And then you come in the last year as well, where you had, Jimmy Ward. Well, Jimmy Ward was out again with another injury. And then you had freaking turnstiles of MJ Stewart. You had what's the guy everybody hate? Miles Bryant playing safety, who's a slot corner. You had to move him to safety because you didn't have any other safeties outside of Kalen Bullock, and you wanted to keep Jalen Petrie in that nickel role, in that slot nickel role. You didn't want to move him back and forth. So you got injuries on top of injuries, and you're getting decimated after decimated. Secondary is very, very important. And I think that's something that definitely we need to kind of really pick up on. Let me go back to the conversation again. There we go. But yeah, you got Reed in the safety room. You still got Jalen Petrie. I'm just my bad, y'all. I'm reading the group chat. If y'all anything, man, y'all go ahead and join the group chat or request to join the group chat. All you got to do is request to be in the group chat, and you can be added to the group chat, man. It's really, really hilarious. But definitely the safety group is something to keep an eye on. And that corner room as well. So those guys, you definitely can, kind of look out for. I look at Jalen Smith, Jalen Reed, Elijah Huzzy, all of these young guys in the secondary that are going to be able to kind of step up. And then if I'm not mistaken, the Texans drafted a safety. Jesus. Let me see, who was it? It was from USC. And don't give it to me. The guy thought it was still of the draft, man. Kamari Ramsey, another safety. There we go. Appreciate you. Kamari Ramsey, guy who I feel like was a steal of the draft. So you got Kamari Ramsey and Jalen Reed that are going to be your safety depth, along with Kalen Bullock and Jalen Petrie, right? Then you have Elijah Huzzy, Jalen Smith, kind of ushering the Traymon Smiths of the world out of the cornerback room and being those third and fourth corners as reserves behind Stingley and behind Lassiter, right? So these are the things that, I really want to kind of watch for in camp, especially, like I said, the position groups of tight end, the position groups of safety, the position groups of running back, those who got hit the heaviest. And then, like LD said, we look at linebackers as well. Those are the groups Yeah, we're gonna have a whole bunch of special teams. But those are the groups and players that I want to really watch and see, because I feel like those guys, those position groups are, I feel like, are the most vital, because they've been the most injury plagued positions for the Houston Texans since D'Amico Ryan, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson arrived in Houston. So, but other than that, man, I've been on for an hour. I'm not gonna hold you long. I wasn't planning on being here that long, especially solo dolo. But shout out to the chat. Shout out LD, Josh, Brandon, Juan, Barrett, Jay, Larry Payton, who else was on? Dorsey Main, Dorsey Spencer as well, back in action. Shout out Sal. Shout out Mike G. Shout out Texans, Mr. G Money, Frank Z. You know, my regulars coming in, man. Brian as well, man. Appreciate y'all. Yvonne popped up out of nowhere. Shout out Yvonne, man. But again, appreciate y'all all, man, for popping in and joining me on this, man. I didn't want to, get on y'all too long, man. But shout out LD, man. My regulars, man. But again, I'm gonna end it with one last video, man. It's one last video. And we get this. This is it. This is the question for the year, man. The question for the year. And shout out Stressings for clipping it up, man. Keep exactly one. We just getting started. We just getting started. We swarming or not, baby? All right, that's enough, man. That's enough, Peachy. Goddamn. That's enough, dog. Goddamn. But yeah, are we swarming or not, man? Are we swarming or not? If you ain't swarming, get the fuck up out of here. All right. Again, man, appreciate y'all all. This is your boy AD for the H Town Rundown, and we will see y'all on the next episode, man. Peace.